The Morning Buzz and all of its contents are proudly brought to you by Rain Irrigation, saving water, conserving the future. Call us at 973-4160, 973-4160 for all of your irrigation needs.
Join John and Chris for life-changing content on every edition of What I Learned on Gilcrest Drive.
Can you tell me how to get
to Gilcrest
Drive?
Now back to John and Chris and What I Learned on Gilcrest Drive.
Tell you what, 70-something degrees, late November is pretty sweet.
Absolutely gorgeous. The post-Thanksgiving weekend, I think, is just fantastic. Just give you enough reason not to choke the people that you wanted to choke while you were eating Thanksgiving dinner.
So I'm driving in from Bibb County today, and I passed that big Schlitz sign on 247. I've driven by it thousands of times. It's still there. At the L&W Sports Bar. I've never been in there. I kind of thought it might have been an ethnic bar, but what's the story there?
No, the L&W is, and if you've never seen it before, it's just a concrete block building, and in it is exactly what you think would be in it, and it's pool tables. It's dirty, supposedly the coldest beer in town, but we really couldn't authenticate that. Now I've been in there once. And in my restaurant days, we paid them a visit, and unfortunately, the bartendress, I don't know, that's probably not
when
the correct term.
When you walked in the door, they were like, you're in the wrong place, son.
Well, when we attempted to get a beer, we had a member of the lesbian faction with us, and she turned and looked at me, and she said, "Do you smell that?" I said, "No, I don't smell that." She said, "That woman stinks." So, I mean, I don't know if it's lesbian radar or I don't know how that works, but from what I'm told, we caught a whiff of the crotch funk.
So, besides needing a douche, the place was a decent little dive bar for pool and beer.
Yeah, and again, they say they have the coldest beer in town. They may. I probably had too much to drink to remember whether or not.
And is it Macon or is it Warren Robins? It seems like it's about halfway between. What city would that be?
I'm pretty certain that's still Bibb County, which is Macon, Bibb County proper. It's all one big piece now, kind of like Augusta and Richmond County and Savannah and Chatham County. I think it's just all one solid mess.
That's on Highway 247, L&W Sports Bar. The beer is cold and the puss is right. A little further down, Snay's, that's long gone. Do you remember Snay's on 247 right before Alberta Road? It's like what did he sell there? Was it like a pawn store? Or what was that?
Snay probably sold whatever he stole the night before, I would guess. And according to your brother, isn't Snay gay?
Yeah. Brother Joe went to electronics vocational school with Snay from Snay's pawn store on 247. And somebody had written on his desk or in a book or something, "Snay is gay." And there you go.
Which is, all fine and good with us. I'm not sure Brother Joe would appreciate that.
Wish I knew what happened to Snay.
I don't know. Maybe we could get him to call in at some point. There are a lot of little empty businesses up and down 247 that the remnants of people may still be in them. I do remember. Yeah. I remember Henry's right there at Houston Road, and Henry's was in that little, you'd call it an access road, but it's really not. And
was it that antique store?
No, Henry's was a bar, and I guess was an institution for a long time. But I think their main business, from what I understand from one of our outside correspondents, was that Henry's sold beer out the back door on Sunday for a premium price. So you'd call that a trap house or a bootlegger. But
wow,
he came in one day and said, "Look, man, they're going to sell beer on Sunday. I guarantee you Henry's will be closed next week." And he was right. He was absolutely right. But I don't know that you want to hang out in a place where people are sleeping on pool tables and in funky old RVs out back. I'm not sure.
Well, as we continue our nostalgic journey down Highway 247, once you pull off of just a few miles on North Davis Drive, you're going to run into Fincher's BBQ.
Finchers. So, on your way in, you came across a rare Middle Georgia treasure.
Fincher's BBQ, I think, like since 1913, something like that.
Been around long enough to Yeah, long enough to make an impression on people.
And I've lived outside of Georgia, in Louisiana, Tennessee, and you just can't get it, or you can't get very good Brunswick stew. It's very hard to find. So I stopped in and brought a quart into the show, into the studio today. So me and our studio engineer Beth and Chris are enjoying some lovely Brunswick stew.
Oh, chow down. It's tasty. Very tasty. Needs lots of crackers.
This is from the Finchers on North Davis Drive. That's at North Davis Drive and Green Street.
Yeah, 519 North Davis.
I haven't pulled up there in a long time, and I got to be honest, I thought the place was closed. There wasn't a car in the place.
Oh, because people are stuffed with so many leftovers, they just can't deal with it.
There was a little neon sign flashing open, and you had finally replied to my text message from earlier. Excuse me. And yes, it's open. So we went through the drive-thru, and some white guy took our order.
I'll tell you what, the barbecue is an acquired taste. A lot of people don't like it, but I have to say, Fincher's rates up there with the top 5. I've eaten some good ones, but it's definitely in there. So you can check them out at finchersbbqga.net, and if they get any business from this, they can find their way to trickle it back down to us.
Well, a little on the history of Brunswick stew. My studio engineer, Beth, was asking earlier, is that from Brunswick, Georgia?
I really doubt that.
There is some debate over that. Debate of origin, there is Brunswick County, Virginia, and Brunswick, Georgia actually claim to be the origin of the stew. In fact, there's a plaque on an old iron pot in Brunswick that claims to be the first stew was made there on that location July 2nd in 1898. St. Simon's Island has a competing story for a similar claim, and then Brunswick County, Virginia also claims to be the home of Brunswick stew. Well,
St. Simon's Island is really just only the main producer of trash that washes up on Jekyll's beaches.
Well, what about Tybee Island? I remember when Tybee was still pretty unspoiled. You could go up there in the off season like we did in the middle of winter and got a room really cheap.
Yeah, and I would assume. Yeah, I would assume you still can. There are a lot of places like that still around, but now that they've got Pirate Fest, which creeps me out a little bit because I don't want to see a bunch of men running around in funky pirate costumes that they don't belong in. But there could be dozens, if not hundreds, of little places like that. I know the beaches were always dark, so if you're looking for a sandy, solid, white, pristine beach experience, that's really not the place to go.
It's East Coast beaching is different than Gulf Coast. You're going to get tastier waves on the East Coast, but you're not going to see a lot is all those built-up sandy white beaches and as much of that more clear, opaque crystal water.
No, it's brown. It's it's usually brown. That's all I can say about it.
Well, I love playing in the waves over there, but when we went to Tybee that time, there was only one restaurant in the whole town open, so everybody had to go eat at the same little greasy spoon on Tybee Island.
Well, now everybody will sell you dinner out their back door.
Really? Wow.
Last time we went, they just
throw me some Triscuits.
Some guy had a sign, and it was he had some solid oysters. It was good.
Well, right now a big slice of nostalgic pizza, Shakeys Pizza. We're remembering Shakeys Pizza.
Still sitting.
Like a sad aging metaphor to my own life.
Still sitting, and in fact, you showed those pictures. That those have got to be circa 1960.
Yeah, look at the car. If you go to our Facebook page and go to the article, the companion article for this podcast, this picture here. What kind of cars are these? I mean,
I don't know. You got the
60s.
65 family truckster and something that came in a metallic green.
I like that green.
Yeah. That most families would love. Now, do you remember? And I know we talked about this a little bit, and you put an article up briefly that you and I went to Shakey's and indulged in their lunch buffet, which used to be world famous. They had tater logs, they had fried chicken, and all the pizza you could possibly imagine, which came before CC's, which sucks, and that other thing.
Those Mojo potato things.
Yes, the Mojo potatoes. And if you remember, I don't know, we ate I think we ate a whole pizza apiece. We must have been, what, I don't know.
I counted 14 slices myself, so
I can't
we had
tell
intestinal fortitude, and you didn't have a colostomy bag back then.
No, I stopped using it this week. But
no, I'm sorry, Chris does not use. I am sorry.
And so that we know,
Chris.
we are not making fun of anybody that uses one, because I cannot imagine having poop strapped to your leg. So played a few video games, had as much pizza as we could possibly eat, and then decided it was a good idea to walk home. Doubled over in pain. I remember that.
That record still stands today at Shakeys Pizza.
I think so. Now, I hear the building is available, and if anybody would care to...
Yeah, it's unoccupied. The last I heard was about $175,000, which I think is a bit much for that beaten up. Things have to be torn down, probably.
There's no telling. Or either torn down or fumigated. At least that. Even if they didn't tear the building down.
Well, I have this distinct memory of these lacquered tables and booths they had with like 19th and 20th century advertisements. Is my memory correct on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think either they shellacked some really good old stuff down that they shouldn't have gotten rid of, or it's just trash that they found on the streets. Fake newspaper articles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of decor like that in restaurants. I've seen that.
And Shakey's had just one beer selection at that location for many years. I think it was just like Coors Light. That was it. There was a keg of Coors on the floor.
Pull that tap.
I had my my 10-year-old football banquet at Shakeys Pizza.
Founded in Sacramento, California. Wow.
Sherwood Shakey Johnson. Johnson's nickname resulted from nerve damage following a bout of malaria suffered during World War II, and naming restaurants after disabilities was a big deal in the 50s, I guess. Yeah, so that's why they named it Shakey's, because the owner, Sherwood Shakey Johnson, suffered from malaria in World War II and just went around shaking.
Oh, he probably just vibrated his way all the way to Winnipeg. So they made it to Canada in the Pacific Rim. Somebody touched me on the Pacific Rim once.
Well, to this date now in North America, including Mexico, there's about 54 restaurants, almost exclusively in Southern California. The only other, if you want to go to the nearest Shakey's, if you got a craving for some of that thin crust,
right? Yeah, that
delightfulness,
delicious cardboard.
Auburn, Alabama. It is the only one east of Mississippi, the only one east of California. There's some in Washington State, Mexico, Hawaii.
There's still a Shakey's in Auburn, huh?
I don't know if it's still or if it's a new one. Has that one been there a long time?
I don't know. We may have to find one of our correspondents on the ground, see if we can get a hold of somebody that's close by, somebody in the area, and see if there's Auburn, Alabama.
That's what, about 3 hours maybe?
No, that's an hour and 40 minutes.
I can get a Shakeys Pizza in under 2 hours.
Yes, you can get Shakeys Pizza in under 2 hours.
Now,
if we call upon them to deliver them, I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
And by the way, tonight's drink of choice is brought to you by the LoLo Liquor Mart. We're drinking the Budweiser Black Crown.
Right. And we got a little fisheye Merlot and a tad of Emmett's Irish Cream, I think, is what we're working with here. So don't get confused. This is not drunk history, even though it's close. But we figure until we break into the big time, we may as well put one in the studio.
We got all these fine beverages at the LoLo Liquor Mart. That's at the intersection of Green Street and is that Houston Road?
That is Houston Road, right. Yeah. And hopefully they're still going to tune in, still going to listen. We met with grand results with them, and thanks to everybody who's heard this and gone and paid them a visit. They're very generous. They're very nice people. They've got fuel, they've got e-cigs. Not in the same store, but I don't think you can do that.
They've got an e-cig dispenser and a cigarette dispenser right next to the gas pumps with some lighters. So
that's usually what I do. And I typically, when I get out of the car in Houston County, I typically wait to pump my gas before the old Mother Hubbard puts out her cigarette next to me. So.
Well, we'll get back to this Shakey's story in a second, but it was an interesting local organic